Greetings from D-Lab Electronics. How would you like to build a custom boutique amplifier using an old radio cabinet? In this video, I'll show you just how to do that. Let's go. Okay, let's get this build underway. I've already prepared the cabinet for the new amp. So this will be our input, volume, treble, and bass, and we're going to have a power switch over here. Obviously I'm going to light this window. So to get the chassis to fit, I had to make a little notch over here to accommodate this Hammond 1444-16 chassis, which is 10 by 6 by 2 inches. Okay, so that is going to slide in here, hopefully. Yep, she's tight, but it'll go in. It's going to seat right against the front, so you can see the aluminum in those holes, which is going to give me the pattern to drill the chassis. Alright, let me get this out of here and we'll discuss the layout. So as usual, yes, I have already generated a schematic for the 6v6 push-pull amp in Visio. So next what we want to do here is envision our layout. I know a lot of you people have wrote me and said, Terry, how do you come up with these amp layouts? Okay, when you looked at the front of the amp, you notice my input was here, my volume and tone controls, power was over here, right? So I'm going to land the power transformer here, preamp tube here. I keep my preamp section away from the power section. Alright, so here is my power transformer. So he's going to sit right around here because I need the power switch to go to the primaries. Alright, then we want our output transformer somewhere in the center. Now this is just an 8 ohm output type. Okay, so I'm going to have my output jack here for the speaker. Okay, and then to clear all those holes, all my pots have the long shafts. These are alpha pots. You can pick them up from Jameco. Mauser is actually carrying these, and Radio Days. Right, so the next thing we need to put on here is the filter cap. So he will sit in this area as close to the side as we can. Now remember, I have that little notch in the cabinet, so everything's going to have to push over at least a 1/4 inch to clear that so I can slide the chassis in. I don't want to make that mistake. Okay. Next, we're going to land the tube sockets. So we have a pair of 6v6s, and I want them to be lined up, centered on the output transformer. Then I'm going to have a socket for the inverter tube, and then my preamp tube, we're going to use this vintage porcelain 9-pinner for the 12AX7. So that's the layout. Down here will be the power cord. I'm going to have a fuse holder and the speaker output jack. That's all that you'll see on the rear of the amp. So pretty simple layout, and what makes this even simpler is I've already constructed an eyelet board. So this is a Fender Princeton board. This circuit is kind of a mix between a Princeton and a Fender Deluxe Tweed. Okay, so when I show you the schematic, you'll see the parts of the circuits that I stole to make this amp. So it should be a pretty interesting project. So let me get the chassis drilled and I'll show you the fit, and then we'll mount them up and get this thing rolling. Magically, the chassis appears all drilled. I didn't really want to bore you guys watching me drill holes, okay? But anyway, here it is. Filter cap sits here. The two 6v6s, inverter tube, preamp tube. I spaced these approximately 1.25 inches to center off of the rear, okay? Power transformer is going to go here. Output transformer will be here with its leads exiting through this hole, and I'm taking both sets of leads through the same hole. The The reason for that is I do not want my speaker lead of the output transformer to exit through the chassis and go across the rear of the eyelet board, because that will induce noise. So I'm going to route it across the top, it'll dive down, and it'll go to the output jack. Alright, so let's turn it around. This is for my input jack, volume, treble, bass, and I have a big old bat handle toggle switch for power. That'll be there. If we look underside, this is my eyelet board, and it's going to sit like that. I have some spacers, so I'm going to bring it up, and if you look right here, you'll see a terminal board with my diodes, okay? Because I do not have a tube rectifier and I'm kind of crammed for room, so I stood them up here so the power transformer will feed the high voltage up here. She'll go back down to the filter cap and of course feed the rest of the eyelet board. So I always start the process by putting in the wire protecting little bushings or rubber grommets, whatever I decide to use. Then we'll get the iron mounted, get our tube sockets in, flip it upside down, and do the wiring. There's all the vintage tube sockets in place. These are all cinch, and I believe this may be an Amphenol, the porcelain one. So the next thing I need to do is get these spacers installed for the eyelet board, because two of the spacers go underneath the power transformer. So I'll get those in and then we'll mount the iron. Well, there's our standoffs. They're about a 1/2 inch. So there is how the eyelet board will sit. Plenty of room for the leads to come up from the power transformer. And you can see how the wires are going to swing down direct to the tube sockets. And there's plenty of room up front for the controls. Alright, there's the iron mounted. Let's give it a quick test fit. Make sure I allowed for enough clearance inside of that transformer. Looks good. Alright, I'm going to install the controls, fuse holder, get the eyelet board in. We're going to wire it up. Alright, we're looking good, but before I can install the eyelet board, we have to get the filament wiring completed. Otherwise, it's kind of a pain in the keister to put in. You can see my 8-ohm speaker lines just made it to the output jack. So that's a good thing. Alright, let's keep on going. Progress report on the build. I have this amp ready to drop the eyelet board in, but I just wanted to go through what I've done. So we'll start here at the left. You can see I've got the controls partially wired. So the volume control and the input jack have RG174 coax that will come over to the 12AX7 to keep the noise down. This is the ground runner for the preamp section of the eyelet board. You'll see where I land that. Toggle switch is wired up for power. So the AC comes in, got a ground down there. There's 4 wires sticking up here. These 2 are the high voltage leads off the power transformer, and these 2 red ones go down to the filter cap. So one of those is for the main high voltage and one of those is for the screen. You'll see those on either side of the 1K resistor on the schematic. Okay, work our way over. Got the filaments hooked up to the first 6v6 socket, and the 100 ohm balancing resistors are there. We go over here with the twisted pairs, hit all the tubes. Okay. The other thing I want to point out, you see these 2 green wires, they take off through the hole of the power transformer, and that is for the dial light on top of the chassis. Alright, oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up. You'll see over here, there's a 1.5K resistor and a cap standalone on the 12AX7. That is because with the layout that I did on my eyelet board, those 2 components could not reside on it. So I mounted them direct to the chassis with a ground lug. Alright, let's go topside. Alright, everything's in place. There's my fuse holder line cord coming in. Got our cap. There's those green leads I was telling you about that go up here to the dial lamp, which will illuminate the glass on the front of the cabinet, so it'll look very cool. Output transformer with the leads all diving into the one hole. So we've got a pair of 6V6s, 6AV6 inverter, 12AX7, and yes, I will be labeling those. So let's go bottom side and drop in the eyelet board. So this eyelet board is a very tight fit. Okay, so she'll drop in here, sit on the standoffs, clears the power switch. We'll just swing the wiring up to it. It won't be long, we'll be testing it. Eyelet board is installed. I'm getting ready for the final wiring. Here's my base control. You see I've twisted these leads and they're all just going to fall onto their eyelets. Yellow wire is treble. That's going to go to this little 250 puff. Here's my two hot leads to the 12AX7. Here is the cathode lead. My inverter tube here. Signal. This goes to pin 2. And this is the high voltage coming off of the 56K resistor. These two leads here are the grid feeds for the 6V6s. I've already got the high voltage hooked up. Just poke the wires through the bottom of the terminal boards there. There's my high voltage lead going down to the filter cap. Alright, let's wrap it up. Alright, let's do the final inspection on the 6V6 push-pull amp. I've marked up the documentation. I will show you the schematic at the end. Eyelet board is installed. We're wired up to the controls. Everything looks great. I've added some wood blocks here, and this will be for the mounting into the cabinet. Everything turned out really slick. Now let's see how it sounds. I've got Tony over here to do a demo. Let's go. So that's built in a RCA cabinet from the 1950s. My uncle actually did the refinishing on it, so it's got that beautiful butterfly pattern.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful cabinet.
Yeah, man.
Nice circuitry, nice sound. Beautiful 6V6 sound.
Oh yeah.
Nice amp. Lots of volume.
So I got a favor for you, man. You see that little one behind you? You see that little amp behind it?
Yeah.
Emmy actually presented that the other day. So this is the Emmy tone amp, and people heard her like abuse a guitar, so I'd like just a quick clip.
Sure.
All right, let's do it. So volume and tone, and the tone is off right now, the switch. Yeah, so
see how the mid-range is so much out in front on this?
yeah.
This sounds really good. I mean,
Yeah.
This is the Emmy tone amp. She's got the most badass amp on the market right now. This thing's got the killer tone.
So how cool is that? There's how you do it. Fully documented. Put it in your cabinet. Call it your own. Need the schematic? Send me an email. I'll get it right out. Stay tuned to D-Lab for more cool ideas coming your way.